On est rassemblés ici. Bon matin, grand plaisir d'être avec vous, tout le monde, ce matin ici à Nepean. Je veux d'abord saluer la présence du secrétaire d'État Wayne Long qui est avec nous. Wayne est ici. Merci Wayne d'être avec nous, qui fait un travail extraordinaire. Je veux saluer aussi la secrétaire d'État Anna Gainey qui est avec nous. Anna qui est ici, qui est vraiment aujourd'hui, beaucoup de l'annonce que vous allez voir du premier ministre, c'est le travail d'Anna qui a fait un travail de longue date pour justement aider les enfants à travers le pays. Je veux aussi saluer, on a la présence du maire d'Ottawa, Monsieur le maire. Merci d'être ici avec votre épouse. Merci d'être avec nous. C'est un grand plaisir. Et j'ai deux de mes collègues qui sont là. Donc, Yasser Naqvi est avec nous et Greg Fergus. Alors, merci, chers collègues. C'est vraiment, on est venu ici en équipe parce qu'on a une annonce importante que le premier ministre va faire ce matin. Colleagues would have seen that in a rapidly changing and uncertain world, Canada's new government is focused on what we can control. And that's what Canadians expect from us. Canadians have asked us for a serious plan to navigate this new economic reality and tackle its consequences for families across our nation, from the rising costs of living to the affordability challenges which are faced by families. And we had a chance, all of us, to engage with families here. And obviously, the announcement this morning is going to make a difference in the lives of thousands and thousands of people across our land. They've asked for change, a change that puts more money in their pockets, change that makes life more affordable, change that builds the strongest economy in the G7. Notre nouveau gouvernement est en train de réaliser ces changements. Nous protégeons et transformons nos industries, nous renforçons notre économie et nous investissons dans notre croissance à long terme pour le Canada passe de la dépendance à la résilience. Je suis évidemment heureux d'être avec mes collègues aujourd'hui pour me joindre au premier ministre du Canada, M. Carney, pour annoncer des nouvelles mesures. Des mesures importantes qui vont faire une différence dans la vie des familles, qui vont faire progresser les efforts qu'on a entrepris déjà depuis notre élection et qui vont aider les familles canadiennes à mieux faire face au coût de la vie parce qu'on a entendu la première priorité des Canadiens, c'est la question de l'abordabilité, évidemment la question du logement et d'avoir une économie forte. Because this moment demands more than short-term fixes. Canadians understand that. You need to look at long-term solutions. It also demands ambition. And I think that's what this Prime Minister embodied in our nation, ambitious and seriousness. We need to make life more affordable today while we're building the economy of tomorrow. By growing the industries of the future, from clean energy and critical minerals to advanced manufacturing and AI. And I know, Mayor, you love that because your town, I think they call that the Silicon Valley of the North. So you know a lot about technology and promoting companies here in Ottawa. We'll create good jobs. And we'll lower costs for Canadians and secure prosperity at home. Because families, obviously, are asking us to tackle the challenge, but also to look at the future. Dans les prochaines semaines, nous irons encore plus loin avec le budget de 2025, qui va proposer des investissements générationnels et transformationnels pour faire croître notre économie et, évidemment, bâtir un Canada plus fort ensemble pour cette génération-là, mais aussi pour toutes les générations qui sont à venir, parce qu'on voit vraiment l'avenir est ici avec nous, les jeunes. Notre plan consiste, vous l'avez entendu, à dépenser moins dans les opérations quotidiennes afin d'investir davantage dans les Canadiens, les travailleurs, les industries, les grands projets nationaux qui bâtissent notre pays, mais d'abord et avant tout les familles et les jeunes. Nous ferons des investissements majeurs qui feront croître notre économie tout en réduisant les coûts et en protégeant les soutiens essentiels pour ceux et celles qui en ont le besoin. Together, we are building a stronger and a safer and more resilient Canada, a Canada where we can all be proud, a Canada ready to lead in this new global era. So I would say let's seize the moment, let's be ambitious, and let's build Canada strong together. With that, Mesdames et Messieurs, j'ai le grand plaisir, privilège de vous présenter et d'inviter le premier ministre Carney à vous annoncer les bonnes nouvelles de ce matin. Merci tout le monde. Merci encore. Monsieur le Premier ministre.
Alors, merci beaucoup, Monsieur le ministre. Secretary of State Gainey, Secretary of State Wayne Long, my colleagues Yasser Naqvi, Greg Fergus, Mr. Mayor, friends, it's a great morning. It's always great to be in Nepean. Et tout d'abord, je voudrais remercier à l'équipe complexe récréatif Minto de nous accueillir ici aujourd'hui. Et merci pour tout ce que vous faites pour éduquer, enseigner et automiser nos enfants. C'est ici qu'ils apprennent et deviennent des adultes brillants, curieux et ambitieux. Now, this is the Friday before the Thanksgiving weekend. And as we were talking a moment ago, it's a time to reflect on the good fortune we have in our lives, the gratitude we feel for our family and loved ones, for our communities, and for our country. It's a time to reflect on what makes Canada great. And these reflections are especially striking, especially poignant right now, after a year in which Canadians have faced an increasingly dangerous and divided world, and the shock of a trade war that's causing big economic uncertainty. You know, these aren't just changes, they're not just a transition, it's a rupture. And Canadians have taken three big lessons from this upheaval. And the first is that we have to look out for ourselves. And that's why Canada's new government is focused on protecting our communities, protecting our borders, protecting our country, and protecting our way of life. And that's from more RCMP and border security officers to new legislation that combats hate, tightens the criminal code, and toughens conditions on bail. Now, the second lesson I think we've taken over the past year, Canadians have learned that we have to focus on what we can control. In a rapidly changing world, that means building our strength here at home. And that's why Canada's new government is moving swiftly with measures to build one Canadian economy, millions of more homes, and major projects that will connect and transform our nation. Because we know, as Canadians, we can give ourselves far more than any foreign government can ever take away. And the third lesson that we've learned is that we have to take care of each other. That's why the government is working to empower Canadians by creating new opportunities, including hundreds of thousands of new high-paying careers, by ensuring workers can get the skills that they need to succeed, and by making new technologies work for you. Et surtout, nous donnons aux Canadiens les moyens d'agir en les aidant à aller de l'avant, en réduisant le coût de vie. Lorsque vous pouvez garder une plus grande partie de l'argent que vous avez gagné, vous pouvez prendre soin de votre famille comme vous le souhaitez et comme vous en rêvez. Vous pouvez participer davantage à la vie de votre communauté et surtout bâtir l'avenir que vous souhaitez. Le futur que vous souhaitez à tous ceux qui se réunissent autour de votre table en ce week-end d'action de grâce. In a few weeks, on November 4th, the Minister of Finance will table our first federal budget. And this is our economic plan to meet this hinge moment in Canada's history. It's our plan for change, our plan to build Canada strong. The budget will set out what we will build. We'll also set out how we will build. In the budget, we'll have to make responsible and pragmatic choices. As the Minister just said, we will spend less on government operations and reduce waste, so Canadians can invest more in their businesses, more in their fellow workers, more in nation-building projects and infrastructure that will build a brighter future for all. We will also take pragmatic decisions so we can protect the programs and initiatives that support the most vulnerable in our society. We'll take decisions that reinforce the programs that help bring down costs for hard-working Canadian families. And we will build programs that help all Canadians get ahead. Bringing down costs so that Canadians can get ahead, that's what we've been relentlessly focused on since being elected just a few months ago. On day one, we canceled the divisive consumer carbon tax, bringing down gas prices by 18 cents per litre. We then cut taxes for 22 million middle-class Canadians, saving two-income families up to $840 a year. Nous avons réduit les impôts afin de diminuer le coût de logement pour les acheteurs de première maison, pour permettre aux Canadiens d'économiser jusqu'à 50 000 $ lorsqu'ils font l'acquisition d'une maison pour eux et leur famille. We cut tolls on all vehicles on the Confederation Bridge from $50 to $20 and fares by 50% on ferries in Atlantic Canada, leading to a 25% increase in usage in the first 2 months alone. Nous avons également pris des mesures pour réduire les coûts liés à la connexion Internet. Notre décision de soutenir le projet de CRTC visant à élargir l'accès obligatoire au marché de gros dans notre secteur de télécommunications a été prise pour une seule raison: baisser les coûts liés à l'Internet haut débit pour les Canadiens et Canadiennes, pour vous. Nous avons également lancé le programme Maison Canada afin de contribuer à doubler le rythme de construction de logements au cours des 10 prochaines années. By building Canada strong, we will create enormous opportunities for Canadians. And by lowering your costs, from taxes to broadband to new homes, we're helping you to keep more of your money so that you and your families can get ahead. And in that spirit, I'm announcing 3 new measures that will be in Budget 2025. First, we are launching automatic federal benefits to help our most vulnerable get the money that they're entitled to. Secondly, we're making the National School Food Program permanent to help ensure that all kids have the nutrition they need at school. And thirdly, we're going to have some fun. We're renewing the Canada Strong Pass so that more Canadians can experience the best that our great country has to offer. So I just want to say a few words before taking your questions about each of these. To start, we're going to launch what we're calling automatic federal benefits for more than 5.5 million low-income Canadians. See, the situation is that millions of lower-income Canadians don't file their taxes, either because they don't have the resources to do so or because they think that their income is too low for it to matter. And that means, too often, that the people who most need benefits often don't get them. Could mean missing out on the GST, HST tax credit, the Canada Child Benefit, the Canada Workers Benefit, the Canada Disability Benefit, and the Disability Tax Credit. Les personnes admissibles au crédit d'impôt pour personnes handicapées et à la prestation canadienne pour personnes handicapées recevront 3 000 $ grâce aux nouvelles prestations fédérales automatiques. I'll give another example. A single parent with 2 young children who earns $15,000 from a part-time job is eligible for substantial federal and provincial benefits. And using this new system, the CRA's new automated and free process, they'll need to just provide a few details, confirm their information on a pre-filled out tax form from the CRA. And then they will receive all the benefits to which they're entitled. In the case of the example I just gave, that's more than $25,000 for their family. Canada's new government will start pre-filing tax returns in the 2026 tax year, scaling up to that 5.5 million number of low-income Canadians by the 2028 tax year. This program will pay out hundreds of millions of dollars in benefits in the next few years that would otherwise be left unclaimed, helping our most vulnerable get the supports that they need. The second initiative to bring down costs is to make the National School Food Program permanent. This is Canada. No child should go to school hungry or sit in a classroom all day wondering where their next meal will come from. All our children should be focused on learning. Since it launched this past year, the National School Food Program has provided healthy meals to over 400,000 children across this country. It's saving parents with 2 children about $800 a year on groceries. Until today, this program was a pilot. It was temporary, with only 3 years of funding remaining. But the challenges that it addresses are essential. They're fundamental. So today we're announcing we'll move forward with the funding and legislation to make it permanent. Canada's new government will keep working with the provinces, the territories, and Indigenous partners to expand this program across Canada so even more kids can benefit. And thirdly, as I said at the start, we're renewing the Canada Strong Pass for 2026. Canada has stunning national parks, fascinating historic sites, pardon me, I'm choked up, world-class museums, renowned galleries. We created the Canada Strong Pass so that Canadians can see more of our great country for less money. The pass provided this summer Canadians with free entry to our national parks and historic sites and discounted, pardon me, discounted or free tickets to our national galleries and museums so that Canadians could be inspired by the best of Canadian nature, Canadian creativity, and Canadian history. The Canada Strong Pass also gave families free or discounted Via Rail tickets, letting more of them travel together to experience Canada's stunning landscapes and destinations and to be with each other. It was a big hit. Canadians spent the summer using the pass to see more of our country's best for less. The pass boosted Via Rail ridership by 13%. Visitors to our parks, our museums, historic sites were up an average of 15%. Since Canadian families love the Canada Strong Pass, and since no one can possibly experience all that Canada has to offer in just a few short months, we're renewing it for the summer of 2026. And we're also launching it for this holiday season starting in mid-December, giving Canadians the opportunity to take advantage of the discounts that the pass offers at what is an expensive time of year. Nous vivons dans un pays magnifique et les Canadiens veulent en voir davantage. Nous renouvelons donc le Pass Canada Fort pour l'été prochain, afin que vous puissiez faire de l'escalade de la Parc national Banff et admirer les œuvres de groupe des 7 à la Galerie nationale d'art ici à Ottawa. Et nous le remettons en place pour cette période de fête. Ainsi, lorsque vos enfants seront en vacances scolaires pendant 2 semaines, vous pouvez sortir de chez vous et visiter nos musées et nos galeries. Ou peut-être économiser un peu plus en prenant le train pour rendre visite à vos proches. You know, the trade war has revealed the limits to our economic independence, limits that we must tackle head-on, and we are and we will. And yes, in Canada, we have our challenges, we have our differences, some of which may even come up at the dinner table over Thanksgiving. But the events of this past year have reminded us that Canada is the greatest country on earth. And they have revealed a nation that's more united, generous, innovative, and ambitious, and a country that's ready to build what's right. Together, we'll make Canada even better. Pour le faire, nous devrons prendre des décisions importantes et faire des choix responsables pour protéger nos communautés, pour réaliser de grandes choses ensemble et pour nous donner mutuellement les moyens d'agir. Car nous ne pouvons pas contrôler ce que font les autres nations, but we can control what we choose to build. And we choose to build Canada strong for all Canadians. Vive le Canada, and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Merci, Monsieur le Premier ministre. Nous allons maintenant commencer la période de questions. We'll now do questions. We'll do about 15 minutes of questions. 15 minutes de questions. First question, Kate.
Hi, Prime Minister. Kate McKenna with CBC News. I'm just wondering if you or anyone in your government has had conversations with a private proponent about building Keystone XL.
I or someone in my government has had conversations with a variety of proponents and operators and developers of various energy projects across this country, so actual or prospective, including that project, but as well many others. I have not personally had direct conversations about that project.
Do you want to do a follow-up?
Yeah.
It's Thanksgiving. We're in a giving mood today, so yes, a follow-up, please.
These announcements, these additional announcements that you're making today, would they count as operational expenses or capital expenses?
These would be, all three of these are operational expenses. And this is a crucial point. So let me take the example of making the Canada School Food Program permanent. As I said in my remarks, and Secretary of State Gainey and her colleagues confirmed, this is an essential program. We recognize that there are children going to school hungry, more than 400,000 using the program already. That's not going to change overnight. And it's an essential service, so it's something that it's an ongoing service that's provided. The benefits that we are protecting, the Canada Child Benefit, the disability benefit, the other benefits, we're going to make the responsible, pragmatic choices as a government led by the Minister of Finance in this budget to ensure that we have those programs, not just today, but for tomorrow and for the future. We want to make sure, with the first initiative, the automatic benefits filing, to make sure that everyone who deserves to receive those benefits receives those benefits. Again, that's an operational expense. It's a mechanical thing. It's a technical thing. It does cost some money. But most importantly, what it costs is making sure the benefits go to the people that deserve. So all of these announcements in the Canada Strong Pass as well are operational expenditures. Thank you.
Prochaine question.
Bonjour, Valérie Gamache de Radio-Canada. Je veux revenir sur Keystone XL. À quel point vous avez senti auprès du président que ça peut être une clé de voûte, une voie de passage, quelque chose qui peut l'intéresser au point de débloquer quelque chose dans les négociations?
Il n'y avait pas nécessairement un point spécifique, mais le président Trump et moi, nous avons beaucoup de conversations en ce qui concerne l'occasion de coopération et de concurrence, des instances de concurrence entre le Canada et les États-Unis. Et on cherche des situations où l'intégration de nos économies sera mieux pour nous deux. On a des occasions, des opportunités dans le secteur de l'énergie. Il y a plusieurs projets possibles, y compris Keystone XL, mais il y en a d'autres. Il y en a d'autres. Et maintenant, nos équipes sont dans des conversations, des négociations intensives en ce qui concerne quelques projets et les niveaux tarifaires dans le secteur de l'acier et l'aluminium. Et il y aura en même temps des discussions en ce qui concerne le bois d'œuvre et le secteur d'automobile. The question, it wasn't a specific, I can't recall a specific time where a specific project came up because we have been, the President and myself have been in conversations over time about where there are opportunities for cooperation and where there are cases where there will be competition between our two economies. We're bearing down on a few projects within the energy sector, intensive negotiations that are in train right now for the sectors of steel and aluminum, and in parallel conversations on forest products and automobiles and others. Merci.
Et puis, je veux revenir sur le bois d'œuvre. Il y a ces nouveaux tarifs là, qui entrent en vigueur dans quelques jours. Est-ce que c'est inévitable? Est-ce que c'est un secteur où vraiment ça accroche et on n'arrive pas à s'entendre?
Pas nécessairement, mais c'est une situation difficile. Il y avait des initiatives américaines en ce qui concerne le bois d'œuvre depuis longtemps. Il y avait plusieurs processus de 232, c'est le processus américain. Selon nous, c'est injustifié et il y a des processus dans les cours américaines qui déroulent. Ça vaut mieux d'avoir un accord négocié, pas nécessairement de relier sur les décisions des cours parce que ça prend plus de temps et il faut travailler. Alors, on continue des discussions avec les Américains, premier point. Deuxième point, et nous fournissons le soutien pour le secteur de bois d'œuvre, y compris des fonds structurels, la liquidité de le ministère des Finances et l'entraînement pour les ouvriers, les travailleurs. Oui. Bien.
Next question, Chris.
Morning, Prime Minister. Christopher Nardi from the National Post. So, as you know, C2 remains in Parliament, and as you also surely know, the bill contains all these sweeping lawful access powers for intelligence agencies and police. Now, I'm curious, are you comfortable with the notion that police or intelligence can go to any service provider, it can be doctors, counselors, child therapists, pharmacists, and obtain information about if someone is a client, since when, where they obtain those services without a warrant?
Two things. One is the bill has been divided into C2 and C12. What you just referred to were issues in C12. So we're talking about the same. No, it's divided into C2 and C12. There are two processes. And Parliament will work through, including through the committee stage, and ultimately through a vote. What we have a responsibility as parliamentarians, as the government, is to protect our communities and protect our borders. And where there is, where it is merited, and there is probable cause, plausible expectation, potential illegal trafficking of, for example, and this is a case, unfortunately, in our society, of precursors and components of fentanyl, which kills thousands of Canadians every year, even though, despite the efforts, kills thousands of Canadians every year, and is shipped through Canada Post when it's operating. There is merit, in the view of law enforcement, and in the view of being consistent with charter rights, that there is an ability to take those measures to save lives in our community. Now, this is legislation. This is Parliament operating as it should. Legislation's being debated. It's being adjusted. The split in the bill allows certain elements to proceed at a certain pace and others to be interrogated.
And what lessons have you taken from the fact that the first bill that your government ever tabled already had to be watered down and retabled?
I take the following lessons from the legislative record of this government. This is a government that cut taxes on day one. This is a government that passed the most comprehensive and what will be seen in the fullness of time impactful economic measure in decades, which is the One Canadian Economy Act. This is a government that's moving through legislation at a minority parliament at pace and with breadth, in working constructively with other parties in that minority parliament. So I'll give you two examples. The One Canadian Economy Act had bipartisan support. The split that you're asking about of the process for Bill C2, now C2 and C12, is a result of discussions with opposition parties in Parliament, work at the committee stage. This is Parliament working as it should, and this is what Canadians expect, that the government and all members of Parliament are working on behalf of Canadians to move things forward.
Next question, Rachel.
Good morning, Rachel Aiello, CTV News. Do you believe that Canada should have another pipeline to the West Coast?
We believe, this government believes in nation-building projects, which can, in both clean and conventional energy. Those projects have several characteristics. Material economic benefits, linking together different parts of our economy, consistency with our climate objectives, and benefits and participation for Indigenous peoples. So those elements coming together can come together in a pipeline to the West Coast. It depends on the specific proposal. It depends on all of those elements. And this government will engage with proposals that have a possibility or prospect of achieving those.
And to your point on climate commitments, are you at all considering repealing either the tanker ban or the emissions cap, yes or no?
It depends, Rachel, and it does, because this is not, in order to satisfy all those conditions, it depends on what's done. What this government is interested in is in results, not objectives. We want to see results. We want to see lower carbon conventional energy, lower carbon mining, lower carbon manufacturing, because that is going to be a driver of competitiveness. It is also going to help us achieve our climate commitments, but most fundamentally, it's going to make our businesses more competitive. And with respect to conventional energy projects, including pipelines, it is absolutely clear. All our discussions with proponents, all our discussions with the province of Alberta, for example, include material carbon capture and storage alongside conventional energy projects. These are very constructive discussions. They're very focused on outcomes, as I say, both from the province of Alberta, Premier Smith herself, myself and our government, and we're working to move that forward at pace.
Next question.
Carney, sur la possibilité d'abolir les plafonds d'émissions. Est-ce que c'est quelque chose
Ce qui m'intéresse, c'est les résultats. C'est les résultats. Et les résultats, dans ce contexte, c'est de la réduction des gaz à effet de serre dans le contexte d'un projet de l'énergie conventionnelle dans le secteur manufacturier, dans tous les secteurs de l'économie, parce que c'est la réduction de le taux de carbone ou l'émission de carbone, c'est une volet de concurrence, de compétitivité de nos activités.
Next question, Kyle.
Hi, Mr. Prime Minister. Kyle Duggan from the Canadian Press. You have recently announced a new defense investment agency and appointed a new CEO to it, and have also appointed a CEO to the new Major Projects Office. Their salaries are significantly higher than yours or your fellow cabinet ministers. So at a time when you're trying to pare back on public sector operational spending, how do you justify private sector CEO pay?
These are, in the case of the specific individuals, I think you'll find that their pay when they were private sector CEOs was substantially higher than the pay ranges that they have. So, first point, full stop. Secondly, their pay is also consistent with the band of what's called within the public service, Crown Corporation CEO 8 level band, so that's consistent with that band. There are other CEOs in Crown Corporations who receive pay within those bands. And the responsibilities of these individuals are enormous. The Defense Investment Agency, we are addressing procurement decisions, investment decisions measured in the tens of billions of dollars. Getting those decisions right, both in terms of meeting our defense needs as a country, protecting our country and our communities, but also growing our industry, growing good jobs for Canadians. And we're in, as the mayor knows, as Yasser knows, I know, we're in the Greg knows, in the Ottawa region, in the Outaouais. One of the opportunities we have here is to grow our defense and defense-related industries on orders of magnitude. Now, that takes cooperation with the city, including the City of Gatineau, with cooperation with the province. It takes an investment agency and leadership of the investment agency that understands how to make that happen. The questions that Rachel and colleagues were asking about on pipelines, Don Farrell, who's the CEO of the Major Project Office, has to run processes and help develop projects, pipelines alongside carbon capture, alongside offshore wind, new ports and other development in a way that is going to make them happen in a fast manner, creating again, tens and tens of billions of dollars of economic activity for this country. We got to get this right. We need the best people. And I salute both those individuals and others to come who are stepping up for our country.
Thank you. And with respect to the announcement today, the CRA is under significant strain. How will you ensure that the department can roll out this program efficiently?
Well, thanks for that second question, because part of it is about leadership. And I want to commend Secretary of State Long and the Minister of Finance for the leadership that they've been showing with respect to the CRA. It's associated responsibility of both of them. And one of the ways you lead is you set clear objectives and timetables, and the focus in terms of on-time delivery of the CRA, the percentages there. I'll let them report in due course the progress that's been made. But that's the kind of attitude and management and focus we're bringing to government, and we're starting to see that with CRA. And yes, we need it. Your challenge is the right one. Thank you.
Next question, David.
David Aiken, Global News. Good morning, Prime Minister.
Morning.
Back to the Oval. In the Oval, President Trump was...
We're a long way from the Oval.
Yes,
we're a long way from the Oval right now.
And I'll bring it back to Canada in a second. But in the Oval, President Trump was asked, are we going to have a three-way North American free trade deal through the renegotiation, or some bilateral deals? And his response was along the lines of, I don't care, maybe both. He wants the best deal for America. Then, I think this week, you had that conversation with Jerry Butts, and you said something along the lines, it seems apparent the USMCA will emerge with some bilateral deals.
Yeah.
I wonder if you can give us a little more color on that, sectoral deals, something coming out of USMCA, going into these two-way deals. Can you expand on that a bit?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's hard to give a very narrow answer to it because it is a process. But the essence of your question is right, at least from what we see. It's consistent with what the President said in the Oval Office, and it's also consistent with what's happening right now. So, for example, and I'll repeat this, 85% of our trade with the United States is tariff-free. It is tariff-free because of discussions with the Americans, decision of the Americans, signed in the Oval Office July 31st by the President, but that allows CUSMA compliant, USMCA compliant in their language, trade to be tariff-free with the exception of certain sectors, okay? So that's reliant on USMCA. And of course, one of the questions and one of the possibilities, prospects, is that that continues under a revised USMCA, if it isn't revised. That's possible. So you need that USMCA framework to have that component. But what's also very clear is that there are certain sectors, steel, aluminum, autos, forest products, pharmaceuticals, where the Americans have decided are strategic, and they have trade actions against the rest, everybody in the world. And we are negotiating specific sectoral deals with them, which would likely persist with a revised USMCA, okay? Because their 232 actions, to use that, with the rest of the world will persist. So already there, in real time, we see the combination of the two. The President's expressed his preference. It seems that that is likely, and it means that this is not one simple, as if any trade deal is simple, but one simple trade deal which will resolve all the issues, and that's why we're focused on retaining the huge advantage that we have relative to the rest of the world through USMCA, that 85%, the lowest tariff of any country, and working hard on these sectors where we're looking for things that other countries have not received, to be clear. And that's why the negotiations are, as the President said, the negotiations are tough, but we've come a long way in the last year. And both of those are quotes.
Thank you.
We'll do one last question. Dernière question.
Good morning, Prime Minister. My name is Tawfiq Ali from TRT, Turkish radio and television. I have some questions about Middle East situations regarding what's going on in Gaza, especially following the Gaza ceasefire just hours ago. As you know, and U.S. peace plan, how does Canada view the situation right now? And what role has it played in this initiative? Second question is, after recognizing of the state of Palestine, what steps is Canada taking toward the Palestinian general delegation in Ottawa? And last one is, could you please clarify Canada's current position regarding arms exports and imports from Israel?
Okay. With respect to your last question, we've had an export ban on arms to Israel for a year. It began before I became Prime Minister, and it remains in force. With respect to, I'm going to go in reverse order. With respect to Palestine, the state of Palestine, we're in direct contact. Our contacts with the Palestinian Authority are directly with respect to President Abbas, the foreign minister, and the focus is on their roadmap to implement the reforms that were predicates for our recognition. And we are coordinating that work with other powers vis-a-vis the Palestinian Authority so that there is both resources but also pressure to ensure that those reforms are put in place. Elements of normalization, other things, including with the delegation here, are dependent on progress made by the Palestinian Authority, okay, to be clear. Now, with respect to role in the President Trump's 20-point plan, we are doing several things. The first, and actually, let me, since you're from Turkish News, may I commend the leadership of President Erdogan throughout this conflict and through specifically that peace process. Turkey has played, as you know, an important role in this alongside Egypt and Qatar and other regional powers to making this come. I've been in direct contact with two of the architects of this specific plan, Jared Kushner and Tony Blair, rather, to complement their efforts in conversations with other powers, other interested parties in this, not all. Obviously, we don't speak to Hamas or any of those authorities, but other regional parties, number one. Number two, coordinating in terms of potential complementary roles of the United Nations. Number three, in terms of potential humanitarian aid, and I would remind that Canada has provided or pre-positioned, we provided some. It's been difficult to provide actual humanitarian, but pre-positioned $400 million worth of humanitarian aid for Gaza, and are ready to do more. But coordinated through this process, and we have seen from the start, and again, I'll finish by commending President Trump for his initiative, a decisive initiative. We've seen from the start that this has been the best chance for peace. We're pleased that Phase 1 has been agreed and is beginning to move forward. We'll do everything that we can to support that. Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup. This puts an end to our press conference. C'est ce qui m'a fait à notre conférence de presse. Merci.